Hello, this is Karia again, and I have another video for you today. Today's video is going to be a short video on doing shading and layering. This is a more condensed, shortened version of a longer video I have done in the past. There'll be a link to the longer video as well as subscribe link and other relevant links down below in the description. So let's get started. So the main thing to keep in mind when you are trying to create this level of shading here with all these different tones and shades is to maintain a light pressure as you start. So when you first start, especially if you have a history, if you have a problem laying down, not using too much pressure, it might help if you move your grip a little bit further away from the point. So if you're like this and you're pressing really hard, you want to move away from that and you want to move towards a lighter hand, and you want to maintain this lighter hand throughout the entire process, and only using heavier pressure when the layers demand that you use a heavier pressure. So I'm gonna show you how to do that here. And part of shading is also remembering where your light source is. So first things first is I like to lay down the darkest areas with the light pressure first, and then move up to the lighter areas, and then move up to the lighter areas. So one of the reasons I like to start with the darkest areas and then move up to the lighter areas is that sometimes when you first put down, your first strokes are kind of on the dark side. So by starting towards the darker areas and moving up to the lighter areas, you give yourself a chance to relax and to loosen your grip. If you don't want it to show the direction of the strokes, then all you have to do is change the direction of your strokes, and they won't all be the same way and they won't all show the same way. So as you're doing these lighter strokes and you're keeping in mind you're changing the direction of the strokes. So the way that you create the shading that you saw me do is not necessarily by using a harder pressure, but just by simply going in with more layers. And that's really much all it takes, is just keep going, and as you add more and more layers of this light hand, you'll create a darker and darker tone. And some people like to go in small circular versions, small circular circles. I like to just go in a straight line, turning the pencil and then changing the direction, changing the angle of the stroke if I don't want the stroke to show. Sometimes I do want the stroke to show if I'm doing like jeans or something. So, and the other thing is you can use a kneaded eraser if you have one. If you felt like your early strokes are a little bit too light, all you got to do with the kneaded eraser is just dab the kneaded eraser on there, and you'll be able to create the highlights for your shadows and highlights. And another way to give your piece a little bit more interest is to use more than one color wherever possible. So for this, I'm just going to add this little bit here. And you can see that we've only been doing this for a short while. We've been maintaining, look, if I leave you'll see that I'm maintaining that light pressure, and you see that I'm not going super dark. And you can do the same thing here with this one. Always maintaining a light hand. Like I said, I like to start with the darkest areas first and move to the lighter areas, but always with a light hand. And then even though you're not using a lot of pressure and you're going very lightly, it doesn't really take a lot of it takes a little bit of time, but it doesn't take as much as you would think it does to create the shading. And it certainly doesn't take all that much more than going in with your really heavy pressure and then causing problems to your hand. You always want to maintain that light pressure to keep the tooth of the paper and to keep it in order. And if you continue to do this and you continue to build up layers, eventually you will have something like this. and something, you know, you can get darker in your darker areas, and then you can leave as much white as you like. And the darker you get in your darker areas and the more white you leave, the more contrast you'll have. And then once you have that higher contrast, that's what's going to add to the realism of your piece. So if you want to see the longer version of this video, there'll be a link to it up there. If you like this video, you thought this video was helpful, feel free to leave a tip in the tip jar. Let me know if you like these little short videos and if you want me to do more of them. And I will see you guys next time, and have a great day. Bye.